Good evening, and welcome to tonight's presentation from the Quarries, an archive of Masonic lore. An extract from the Arcana of Freemasonry by Albert Churchward, 1915. The Divine Name. The Reverend Jacob E. Warren, in an article on the above subject, asks for the origin of the divine name, which the Hebrew text gives as YHWH, and what we can do to discover the lost treasure. The answer is simple. Study this question. Where did the Hebrews obtain it from? The origin of the divine name above is from the Egyptian Hu and Yu, one of the names of Horus. This is the name for the Word, although there is still another secret name only known to a few, which I am not permitted to divulge, but the meaning of the words in each case is identical. The Hebrews obtained all their knowledge from the Egyptians, and to understand the volume of the sacred law, it must be read as an esoteric representation, and not an exoteric rendering. Most people do the latter, which is terribly misleading for those who are ignorant of the ancient Egyptian wisdom. Hu, Yu, signifies in Egyptian the Lord of the heavens and the earth, ruler of the destiny of the world. The original word was written Hu, then Yu, Yao, Yaheh, as the son of Hu, which two were one. In later times, the letter I was changed into Y, which students would do well to bear in mind in trying to decipher names as written at the present day. The letter Y did not exist until many thousands of years after the letter I had been formed. Another form for the name was Heru Kuti, light of the world. The Jews used the word Ea, Jehovah, Phoenicians, Yao, Hebrew, Yah, Assyrian, Yao, Egyptian Gnostic, Yao, Polynesian, Iho Iho, Diak, Yavua or Yau, Nicobar Islands, Iwu, Mexican, Au, Toda, Au, Hungarian, Yao, Manx, Li, Cornish, Yao, Welsh, Yao, Chaldean, Yao Heptactes, Greek, La and E. The Jews were originally the followers of Ayu or Yu or Yao. The worshippers of Yao in Phoenicia, of Yao in Assyria, of Yao in Syria, Yao and Hu in Britain, La or Yu in Greece, Iho Iho in Polynesia, Yao in America, were each and all of them Jews, in a sense, but the sense was religious, not originally ethnical. It was part of the solar doctrines or eschatology of the Egyptians. The Dyaks of Borneo did not obtain their Yavah from the Hebrew Jehovah, but from the origin of both. The change in Israel from the worship of El Shaddai to the worship of Ihu, Hu or Yu in Egypt, from the Elohistic to the Jehovistic God, corresponds to the change from the stellar to the solar doctrines in the eschatology of the Egyptians, which can be seen and proved in the volume of the Sacred Law, in the book of 1 Chronicles 12:5, in which we find that Baaljah, as divinity, supplied a personal name. Thus, the Baal is Jah, who is one of the Baalim, the primary or superior one of the 7 stellar attributes. The one God in Israel was made known to Moses by the 2 names of Ihu and Ea. In the Egyptian, the one God in the earliest solar form was Tan, the earliest form of Atum-Ra. He was Huhi, the eternal, in the character of God the Father, and Yu, or Turn, in the character of God the Son, which two were one, Gesenius derives the name Ihu, or later Yu, from the root Ha, which root does not exist in Hebrew, but it does exist in Egyptian. Ha, or Her, signifies ever, everlastingness, eternity, the eternal, and was one of the titles associated or names of Horus. The names changed from Turn, Ptah, Atum Ra, Osiris, as Neb-Huai, the everlasting Lord or superior one, self-existing and eternal God, which each of the above represented in turn, as one divine dynasty succeeded another in the Egyptian religion. Moreover, Bela Baal was El Shaddai of the Phoenicians, or was another name for him, and when they changed from the Stella, represented by Sutunup, to Horus, he was no longer to be considered the one God. See Exodus 34:13. Thou shalt call me Ishi, and shalt call me no more Baali. Hosea 2:16. And therefore to have the Hebrew character of El Shaddai, or Phoenician now, rather, as the Father, and Hu, Yu, Yao, Ishi, Ihu, etc., as his son, as is represented on our cross of the 18th degree, is quite wrong. It has no meaning, and no explanation could be given that would be correct with the Hebrew characters on the symbol as it is. But if these were changed to the Egyptian, or the equivalent, it would be correct, would correspond, and have the same meaning as Yu. El Shaddai was not a form of father to Hu or Yu in any way. He was the primary god situated at the southern pole, or hemisphere, for upwards of 51,000 years. And then he was deposed in favour of Horus, the god of the northern horizon. This is proved by the two great pyramids of Gizeh, one built for Sut and the other for Horus. Their names are inscribed thereon. It is clearly mentioned several times in the Egyptian ritual. All the attributes hitherto associated with Set of the south were appropriated and given to Horus of the north, and this cult lasted at least 300,000 years. This deity as the god of Israel was Jashal-El, the god of Jasha-Yeshurun or Baali, and the other forms of the name El-Elun, Edoni, Phoenician at first, then changing with the changing of the stella to the solar cult or eschatology of Egypt. This gives the answer to the question. The jealousies of the different sects of Christianity have led to a display of bitterness and hatred, which have been the means of alienating thousands who believe that brotherly love and charity should be the principles of Christianity. Yet all these various denominations work under the banner of Christianity. The Church must obliterate its schisms, and if the Brotherhood of Freemasonry helps it to do so, then well indeed will it be. One looks back with horror to the days not long past when men were burnt and tortured to the honour and glory of God under the name of Christianity. The Church must get rid and free itself from its despotism, its lack of that great virtue, charity, and its badly concealed hatred of all who have differed from its dogmas. Until this has been really accomplished, it will be quite vain to expect churches to imitate the examples of our lodges and be penetrated through and through with our great principles. Amongst the ancient world, the principles and tenets of our brotherhood, the highest principles of morality, charity, truth, and justice were practiced by all, over 300,000 years ago, and such perfection was reached that our old brothers would blush with shame to see us at the present time. From the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry by A.E. Waite. Divine Union. Every man, however unconsciously to himself, is in search of union with God at every moment of his life, if only because he is unescapably in search of his proper end of being. including the beatitude which it connotes. And the mystical state is finality, alike by hypothesis and experience. A divine quest. The search after God is the only business of religion, and his attainment is the fruition thereof. On the possibility and actuality of such attainment, religion is therefore based, and hence it is a science of experience. It conveys as such the certitude of our kinship with the divine. I do not think that we need at this day, and I do not propose to offer any new definition of religion on its practical side, the work of attainment, much less a fresh consideration of the word meaning from the standpoint of philology. It is the attainment of that state in which we no longer walk by faith, but by sight also. It might not be very difficult to speak of it in new terms, or in those which would have a semblance of novelty, but I doubt whether it is desirable. On the contrary, it may be realized more vitally by using forms of expression that are comparatively at least familiar. In an old, encompassing, and always suggestive phrase, practical religion is the life which does come in fine to know of the doctrine. It is the glory of righteousness in this life and beyond. And the end is comparable to the eternal rest of Buddha. It is the knowledge of unity which, according to Krishna, is above wisdom. It is the Sufic union of the lover and the beloved. It is in a sense the epiphany of Pythagoras, the vision from above, that is to say, the manifestation of the center. It is the eternal repose, and it is the essence apart from mode, which all inward spirits have chosen above and before all things as the goal of their desire. It is the attainment of the kingdom of God. It is St. Thomas of Aquin's foretaste of the beatific vision. It is Ruysbroeck's secret marriage of the soul with God. And because in the last resource it is an experience in consciousness of all that which otherwise it has not entered into the heart of man to conceive, because in the effort to think of it and in the attempt to encompass it by our apprehension, we are as those who sit and play with similes, because we are in respect of it, like Sir Isaac Newton, comparing himself to a child who gathers pebbles on the shores of a great ocean. For these reasons it is right that we should call it what it is, a thing mystical, that is to say, concealed and hidden, one also that passes very hardly, and then imperfectly into any manner of expression. The faithful witnesses. Now, the records of this experience are written over the wide world. Many beginnings and excerpts of it are at our own doors. Its rumours and vestiges are in that common and elementary experience of religion, by which many persons of this day seek to convey to one another the fact that something divine and strange in the consideration of holy things has entered into them and changed them. Its heights are in those regions of which we hear in the memorials of the saints of God, under all denominations of sanctity. I have just quoted some of their records, which are of the end rather than of the beginning. Many of us may know something, each within his own measure, of the lonely and wonderful paths which lead through the early stages. We may have conceived in the intellect something of that which is beyond. We may have adored and longed for that which is not less certainly intimated by the great vistas, because it is now beyond sight and beyond conception, because the cloud and the fire, even the incense of aspiration, have set a veil over the scene. But if we know and have conceived and have longed, seeing in part, dreaming at the end of things, looking through inverted glasses, We depend to the whole extent of our deficiency, and we know it, oh, do we not, upon the veridic testimony of those who have shown us the way, who have led us, but so far only as we could follow their leading, and at a point they have left us. No, they have not exactly left us, for they were there already. They had attained, and it was only a little distance that we could climb after them in our weakness. We have made our halt, therefore, waiting for the powers and the graces for the season that is not here, and, so far as all realization is concerned, confessing that after a certain point we know scarcely what they say. This is the higher sense in which it is hard to be a Christian. It is the sense also in which we are learning a language and spelling out a life. It is in such stages, far enough from the goal, but still on the road thereto, that we do well to remember how there are other memorials than those which first instructed us, that there is something to be said for the counsel of wise old alchemy, which affirmed that the truth of the art should be sought in a comparison of the sayings left by the masters of the past. Openings through the vistas. The consideration of the great official religions may emerge with a new message in the light of this great experiment. We may discern the signs and portents as of an approaching transfiguration of doctrine. When those who have gone up into the blue height and have descended into the black void return like Dante saying, "And have not our fathers told us?" When they testify that God recompenses those who seek him out, does not their witness show that those who are dedicated out of all revocation with the whole heart of their nature to this great reality of things find all the spaces peopled in directions where the normal sight of humanity, the eye of the untrained soul, sees and can see nothing? Higher fields of symbolism. These are intimations of the experiments and of the goal to which it leads. I have spoken of them in this place because there are instituted mysteries which are above the measures of emblematic masonry, and they deal in stately symbolism with such a path of return to God. They are also like masonry, in the sense that their figurative pageants portray a new birth, a new life, a mystical death, and thereafter a resurrection in God, which is the life of divine union. The Masonic analogy lies at a very far distance, but it is there in the craft degrees, though that which is done by the master who confers the rite and that which is suffered by the candidate may not be understood by either, while those who made up the rituals in the 18th century may not have known what they were doing. For a deep dive into the history, philosophy, and traditions of Freemasonry, subscribe to From the Quarries. You will find hundreds of lectures, presentations, shorts, and other Masonic works written by Freemasons for Freemasons. Visit FromTheQuarries.com or YouTube at From the Quarries.